What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam. I'm your show host over here. Thanks for tuning in. And if you guys voted in the Carbon TV Awards this year for Fall Obsession podcast, I just want to say thank you. At the time that we're recording this podcast, we don't have the results yet. But if you guys have been voting diligently, we certainly appreciate the support. Thank you guys very much. My guest this week on the show is Jake Newman. He is a content creator in the hunting and outdoor industry, has an awesome following on multiple different social media platforms. He does some incredible content and videos and everything with his brand Nocked TV. So make sure you go check out Nocked TV either during or after this podcast and give him a follow, show him some support. He's also pretty well plugged in with the Hoot Camo folks that we know and love over here at Fall Obsession. That's actually how I got connected with Jake, was through the Hoot guys at the Texas Trophy Hunters Extravaganza, hanging out in their booth and everything. Got to meet him and invite him to come on a podcast because we love talking with other individuals who are enthusiastic and passionate about hunting in the outdoors, obsessed, if you will. And he also has some awesome hunting stories that he shares with us, including one that is very recent. Actually, at the time that we're recording this podcast, he just got back the day before from a high country mule deer hunt in Utah, killed a 185-inch mule deer buck in velvet. Unbelievable. And he tells that story on the podcast. It's fresh on his mind. You can hear his excitement, hear the incredible, crazy story about it. You don't want to miss it. So we'll get to that here in just a second. Before we do, got to hit a few things here with the sponsors and partners that make Fall Obsession podcast possible and happening every week for y'all. First and foremost is our friends over at Hoot Camo. We started rocking the Hoot gear and repping the brand last year. First hunt with them was the mule deer hunt that I had out in Colorado. We actually talk a little bit about the pattern and some of his experiences with it in this podcast. But if you guys want to place an order with Hoot Camo, get a set for yourself, or maybe just pick up some of their casual wear, fishing wear, whatever they got on there for you, use the code FALLOBSESSION15 at checkout. That will save you guys some money. Go check them out. They got some awesome stuff going. HootCamo.com. News on Safaris is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. If you guys are looking to book that next African safari, that big adventure perhaps that you've been saving up for and wanting to go on, then you need to book with News On. We've had people both with our team and outside of our organization that have hunted with them that have had a great experience, and we believe that you guys will have the same. If you want to save some money, which we all do, hunting with News On Safaris, then you need to take advantage of this deal that we have here on the podcast. If you tell them that Fall Obsession sent you, then you will get a $500 trophy credit, free lodging, food, and drinks. Your professional hunters, skinners, and trackers, fees, and all that stuff with that's going to be covered. Basic trophy prep is taken care of. That is a $2,250 value per person, valid up to 4 people in your hunting party. So do the math on that. If you got 4 people going, you could get $9,000 in savings just by telling them that Fall Obsession sent you. Give Tim a call over there. His number's 303-946-9441. Again, that's Tim. Let him know that Fall Obsession sent you, and you will get that smoking deal with your next safari with News On Safaris. Elite Archery is a Fall Obsession partner. Been shooting an elite bow for several seasons now. Absolutely love it. The technology that Elite puts into their gear and everything is second to none in my opinion. The bow shoots well, very smooth, very comfortable, very shootable, fast, quiet. It's got all of it. Go to your local Elite dealer and take the Elite Shootability Challenge and see what you think for yourself. That's the ultimate way that you're going to know if their bows are right for you. And Elite themselves even tells you guys to go do that. So put them up against any other bow in the industry, compare them to what you're shooting right now, and who knows, maybe you found your next bow. Go to your local Elite dealer, take the Elite Shootability Challenge, and check them out. We have a new podcast partner over here at Fall Obsession that we're debuting in our sponsor segment this week, and that is an organization called Trophy Edits. So I'm sure that we've all had those photos in the past from memorable moments, memorable hunts, memorable experiences that weren't quite what we were hoping they would be. Maybe the lighting was wrong, it was at night, the photo's too dark, or perhaps it's a great photo of an awesome deer, but you got blood and nastiness everywhere that you would really like to have that kind of stuff cleaned up. Trophy Edits and the team over there with Dylan and those guys, they make it possible for you guys to have a cleaned up, professionally looking photo that you can show off and share with your family, your friends, your buddies. Save that memory for years and years to come. So if you want to take advantage of Trophy Edit service, there is a link in the description on this podcast episode. You can check them out from there, and by clicking that link in this description, it'll make sure that they know that you came from us over here at Fall Obsession. And yeah, check them out, see what they got going on over there at Trophy Edits. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He has an app where you can play and stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day from your phone. It is free to download, so go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today and check out all the awesome shows and everything that they got going on over there. You'll catch Fall Obsession podcast playing on there on Mondays, the same day as our new publications. And make sure you follow them on social media so you catch their live radio show broadcasts that they have a couple times a week. The Outdoor Call Radio app. Last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is a podcast partner. Derek Eves is the man over there at Ridge Rock. If you're looking to book a North American hunt, you need to book with Ridge Rock. Derek has a large network of vetted and trusted outfitters that he only exclusively works with and sets his clients up with, so you're guaranteed a good experience. Call Derek, let him know what you're looking for. He'll work with you on all the details in your timeline and find something that works for you. Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Finally, thank you guys again for tuning in to another Fall Obsession podcast and for voting in the Carbon TV Awards if you did that. Whatever podcast platform you're streaming this episode on, please go and find that like, follow, or subscribe button, whatever the platform has up there for you. Turn your notifications on if that's an option. That way you get notified every time we drop a new episode. Head on over to our website, fallobsession.com. That's the hub. Everything filters through there. You can also catch a lot of content on there that you might not find on some of the other streaming platforms, like wild game recipes, gear reviews, educational articles. We got a lot of articles coming out right now relevant to deer season coming up, some tips, strategies, and tactics type content that are on there that could be useful for you if you're trying to kill that big buck. Pick up a hat or shirt if you're so inclined, but even if you can't purchase anything, the best and easiest and cheapest way that you can help support Fall Obsession is simply by hitting the share button. Getting this content, this podcast, any of our shows in front of more and more people is the best way to not only help the brand grow, but to also help grow the hunting community as a whole. We want to reach more and more people, and the best way for us to be able to do that is by you helping us out and sharing our content. We always appreciate that. With that, I'm taking it to our conversation with Jake from Nocked TV. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's up, guys? We're back for another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm Sam, your host, and I am here in person in what I would call the cute little Fall Obsession home studio here with Jake Newman, Nocked TV. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Dude, so excited. Appreciate you having me. Can't wait to jump into it and dive into some of our topics tonight.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited. Thank you for making the drive out here, man. That's
easy. I like doing stuff in person, man. You know, man, it's easy.
I tell everybody that I podcast with, or that frequently, that is, the in-person episodes are my favorite. We do a lot of virtual, and the virtual world and Zoom and all that kind of stuff, it definitely opens opportunities, right?
No doubt.
To podcast with people that you would never get on the show otherwise. Be consistent with your episodes, all that kind of stuff. But man, yeah, there's something about sitting down with somebody in person. The conversations are so much better.
Oh yeah, especially when you don't have to deal with Skype lag.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. Man, for our listeners that don't know who you are, introduce yourself and tell folks what you do.
Awesome. Well, I'm Jacob Newman. I'm with Nocked TV. Do a lot of bow hunting. That's why I came up with that name. Own a custom rifle company, BMF Battle Works. We're out of Fort Worth, Texas. Funny enough, I do a lot of rifle hunting too. So trying to get real back into the archery. But yeah, man, do content creation, influencing, YouTube. Want to start, really diving into this industry young and just learning, man,
Yeah. How old are you?
25.
25.
Been doing social media stuff since I was about 19 to 20, and then really got into the hunting side and the YouTube side probably 21, 22.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit more about Nocked TV and exactly what that is to you.
Man, so I've always wanted to, I feel like, I've always been like, I grew up in Aledo, country town, but I don't know, man, like I was always like different. Like I played football and I liked rap music and I just super energetic and crazy. And I grew up watching hunting shows and I just felt like they're not boring, but it's like, like, oh, where's the kill shot? Okay, cool. Like wasn't like fun. It wasn't theatrical. And so that's something that I wanted to kind of bring into the industry was, like, hey man, we're having fun. Like you kill a beer, let's go shotgun. You kill a deer, it's like, let's go shotgun a beer. Like let's make this fun. Like we're driving through the mountain just on my last mule deer hunt, and we killed a mule deer. And we're bumping, sexy red rap music all the way down the mountain. People, old heads looking at us like, what are these kids doing? But it's, it's fun, it's energetic, and I think that's what hunting is. I think sometimes, and it's serious, right? I mean, you're taking the life of an animal, and in times that you need to be serious. But at the end of the day, like, it is fun. That's why we do it. Put food on the table and to have fun, enjoy ourselves, communion with people, and all that.
There's so much more to be shared about an experience or about the adventure. You talked about where's the kill shot, okay, next one, right? And you're right, there were a lot of hunting shows back in the day that were like that. Not to get off on a rabbit trail or anything, but like the Real Tree guys with their road trip series, really one of the first breakthrough series to
Absolutely.
show other things, the fun having in camp and, more of the adventure and stuff. And so many people, especially in the online hunting world now, have adapted to that model and everything. And yeah, that's awesome because that's, the kill itself isn't all of what captivates people. It's getting in hunting camp in the woods with friends, with family, with your buddies and whatnot, and just enjoying it.
100%. Well, and embracing the suck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my mule deer hunt we just went on, my pronghorn hunt last year, dude, I hated life, all the way up until it's over, and then you're like, come back home, you're telling your buddies about it, and that's the biggest thing too. I wanted to do it is, I feel like we're a dying breed, right? Something to put out there like, hey man, this is fun. This is what we're meant to do. But it's also something to pass down to your kids. Like, hey, look, like this is what your dad used to do. This is what your grandpa used to do. Like, educational. It's fun. And like you said, that communion, embracing the suck, coming back and, you can sit there and tell your friends stories all the time, but it's like, hey man, why don't you just go watch my YouTube video? And then they get to relive it. And dude, I rewatch all my stuff. I rewatch it because I think sometimes I'm awkward, and so I watch it just like watching football film. I'm learning from it. It's like, what could I have done different on that stock?
Yeah.
Watching the video back, it's literally just like watching film to better yourself as any apex that you're trying to be in an industry.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. The podcast that I did last week, I talked about that and just the significance of, having everything documented, not just for, to go back and see where we were personally, but, friends, family, kids later on, whatever it might be, going back and getting to relive it too. I filmed this mule deer hunt, right, last year, and I actually don't go back and watch a lot of my videos or listen to a lot of my podcasts or anything like that, but, like, I killed that deer at 12:15, whatever, in the afternoon, and by 7 p.m. we were recording a podcast in camp about it. So I have gone back and listened to that podcast because I get to relive it, hearing
100%.
The group of us sitting there talking about it like hours after it happened. Even you forget about stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
That was part of the moment and everything like that. So it's just, that's there forever.
Oh yeah.
And that's what's awesome.
And it could be something that, like is a huge part of the story, and you
Yeah.
leave it out, you know, and you're like, oh man, you know, I forgot that I remember crawling, but I don't remember crawling 400 yards to go stalk that deer.
Right.
I remember crawling for forever, but then you watch it back, you're like, man, I'm kind of a pro, man. I kind of killed that, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch back, and then you know, to be on a hunt in the next year and to have a deer in a situation, and you're like, man, well, what can I do? And you can like rethink on that. You're like, oh man, I did this last year. Let's do that again. That worked.
Yeah, exactly. You talked about you mentioned it, your mule deer hunt that you literally just got back from like yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday at 1 a.m.
Yeah. So fresh on your mind, but let's start by unpacking that. Let's hear about this high country hunt.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm excited to talk about it because, you know, this is my first high country, full backcountry camping archery hunt. I did a bear hunt in May, which was my first backcountry hunt ever, but that was a rifle hunt. But this is my first backcountry, high country archery, velvet mule deer. Been, you know, so excited to do it. Been joking around the whole time. Told everybody, oh, dude, I'm going to kill a stud opening day. You know, I went and scouted a couple times, saw some good deer, but it was funny. We packed all the way in about 2 to 3 miles and set up camp, and we spent about 3 hours building a rock pit to have a fire that was magnificent. And so at the end of that, we were so tired. I was like, man, let's just walk over here 400 yards and just scout this side. Didn't even know it was going to be good. And we scouted for 3 days before season. Every single day I found a new shooter. And I'm on camera. I'm like, dude, I'm going to shoot that deer. Like, that's the new dude. That's the new, you know, target buck. Go back in the morning. Psych, that's the new target buck, you know?
Yeah.
And so we kind of just found this honey hole. And so opening morning, you know, I know exactly where I'm going. Get over there, and it is 6:45. Dude, there's 40 deer on this hillside. All bucks. In those 40 bucks, there's probably 6 or 7 shooters. 3 or 4 of them I've been seeing for the past 3 days. So I'm like, you know, hey, Caleb, my buddy that was with me, I was like, let's just haul butt across this, and we're going to get across this canyon, or get across this saddle, get on top of this other peak. If, you know, they're all feeding probably into their, you know, because we had a full moon, so I'm thinking they're probably feeding into their morning bed, thinking maybe we can catch them going to their afternoon bed before their evening feed. And come across, man, I am 15 feet into the clearing, and I see these 2 deer. Put them in the binos. Man, that's a good buck. Throw the spotting scope down, mag view on it. Dude, I see a drop tine. I see kickers. He had forks like this, kickers directly in the middle of his forks.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, I've always watched the videos guys doing this. I'm like, man, how do these guys kill these crazy big deer? Like, I never have an opportunity to do that. Even friends I know, and I'm like, how are y'all killing 160-inch whitetail every year? Like, I don't see that. So I see this deer, and I'm immediately like, I gotta have that one, you know. And so I drop about 1,000 to 1,500 feet of elevation in less than 2 minutes, just sprinting down this hill. Because I told Caleb, I was like, dude, if he feeds up anymore or directly towards us, I'm going back in the tree line, and I am hauling absolute butt down there, because he's going to feed right there. And if he was going to take the path I was thinking, he was going to be 25, 30 yards, and he was going to have no idea I was there.
Yeah.
And also would have been nice, because that kill shot would have been a good video, and hopefully would have been an easy track, right? Turns out it was not the case. Get down there, talking to the camera. I'm like, hey man, you know, I just came through. I'm trying to get to this tree line, and I look up, and these 2 deer are walking. The big buck, and then that secondary buck that he was with, which was way bigger than I thought he was out of the scope. And I was like, oh man, they're right there. So I immediately dropped down, and there's a creek that's about probably 20 foot deep, no water in it, dried up, but that they're about to go to. And so I get to the edge of the creek. I see that smaller deer, because I'm still dropping elevation this entire time. And I see him, and I'm like, you know, hey, you know, I've always heard you don't pass something on the first day that you shoot on the last day.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking, man, I got 10 days up here. Like, what do I do? And I was like, you know, I'm going to go around this way. I'm going to see if I can find that big buck. Because this buck is still, I mean, a 140, 150 in full velvet, 4x4, good forks. I'm like, I'd be more than happy to take that deer home. Come across, don't find that big buck. Come back, full on, ready to shoot this other deer. And as I'm sliding down on my butt to get closer to him, that big buck pops out, and he's headed up the other side of the ridge. And I was like, oh man, there he is, you know. But he's in this thick stuff. I mean, 20 feet to the right is about a 40-foot clearing that would have been awesome. And of course he doesn't go in there. So I just start sliding down, and man, full pro status, right? And of course, like I told my buddy to stay up because my first hunt, right? I was like, hey man, this is like my 4th or 5th time. I'd be like, hey man, if we spook them, who cares? Let's get it on film. But I'm in the mindset, and then I tell everyone this too, is man, I'm a hunter first, a videographer second. Like especially for something of this magnitude on my bucket list to do. And man, dude, I got my windicator. I'm throwing my wind up, the powder, got the wind in my face. I'm being sneaky. I'm crawling, doing everything. And I spooked this little deer up. And from then on, it was game on right there. There's 3 deer in there. Eyes are on me. And I still don't have a shot on this buck. I slide down. That small deer busts all the way up the mountain. And I'm like, man, I'm so screwed, but I'm not putting myself down, I'm like, this is my first stalk ever. Like,
right.
If I blow it, whatever, but I'm also like, I'm about to blow a stalk.
You're also looking at a giant.
Oh yeah. And so I'm like, I'm just going to take the chance. And so I kind of just lifted my feet and like a slip and slide just down about 20 feet. And as soon as I stopped, I pulled back, and I had ranged that deer, and I was getting 37 or 35 and 42 back to back, because it was about a pocket about that big. It was about a 5 by 5 inch square with trees hanging in it. And I really did not want to make that shot. And he took 2 steps up and then went 2 steps left and then 2 steps back right. And so I was like, he's going up the mountain. He's not going to walk into that clearing. He's smart, and he knows that I'm here. I'm in my Hoot gear. I got my hood on, my mask up. So they don't know what I am, wind in my face. But I'm obviously making a crap ton of noise.
Right. Something's there.
Pull back. That small buck has now gone up the hill, and he's about 5 or 6 feet from that big deer, and he's going up to the left, and so I know that big deer's about to turn any minute. Pull back, and I can't find him in my peep. Go out of my peep, find him, put my pin on him outside of my peep, then come into my peep, sling it, and I mean, I'm right on him. Boom, and I'm like, money, like, oh, this is the best shot I've ever made in my entire life. Then I hear, thwack, boom, and I hit him directly in the punch. Quartered away, so I was like, it was where I was aiming, but when I heard that thwack and I knew I hit that branch, I knew it was not going to be like where I wanted it to. So I'm watching him run, nothing coming out of him, no blood, anything, and so I knew it was a bad shot. Go up, get Caleb, go find my arrow. Looks like it has a little bit of lung, but I'm telling myself that I'm trying to be optimistic and I need to be real with myself at this moment.
Right.
We track speckles of guts for about 200 yards and then find 4, massive like 6-inch spots of blood. Thinking we kicked him out of his bed, thinking that I have just screwed the pooch. Back out, call a guy up in Huber, Utah, about 5 hours away. My girlfriend, actually, because I had no service, and at the very top of the mountain I had service. Call my girlfriend, call my business partner, and I'm like, hey, I have no service. I can't look anything up. I need y'all to call, like, dogs, like I messed up, like, blah, 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 this or that. Matt Methling, shout out to you if you listen. He comes down 5 hours, gets there about 7, 8 o'clock the next morning. We go in there with the dog on a leash, find that deer within an hour.
Wow.
100 yards from where we stopped.
Wow.
And it's just, so surreal, man. Get up to him. He's bigger than I thought he was. Wide, good forks, good main beams, and just insane, man. And could never feel more blessed.
Yeah.
It was the coolest experience I've ever had, even with making a terrible shot that ended up being better than I thought. I did actually clip bottom side lung, and I think that deer, I think what had happened is he was running, and I think he basically stopped, started coughing up blood, and then he walked over 100 yards and laid over and died.
Yeah.
But would have never found him without that dog.
Yeah. No, dogs are awesome, man. They save us a lot of heartache for sure in this world. So had to leave him overnight.
Didn't sleep much.
I was going to say, that's a sleepless night, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Especially with a deer like that, man. First time doing it. And knowing, and I mean, it doesn't matter the size of the deer, right? And I'm not a big trophy hunter. I just like unique stuff. And just happens to be, he had a drop tine kickers, and that's pretty unique. He could have had that been 120 inches, and I'd be just as excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Caleb was trying to sleep all night, and I'm like, dude, what do you think? The whole time, and he's like, dude, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, Matt will be here in 4 hours. He goes, that's 4 hours of sleep that we're going to need. We have to hike another 3 miles up and then about 4 miles back in.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to go to sleep. And I think I slept about 30 minutes that night.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there chomping at the bit waiting for him.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Wow. So how big is this? Did this deer end up being?
So Matt is a guide in Sonora, and I have my buddy Cage Golden, who owns Golden Outfitters up in Montana, does mule deer, elk, pronghorn, all that stuff. I sent it to him, to Matt, 4 or 5 of my other buddies that have a lot more experience, especially in the western hunting, and then my business partner Rich. I was telling you, was calling people. Man, he was posting on like the Monticello, Utah Facebook page. You know, just like anyone with dogs, like my buddy needs help. You know, all this stuff. And man, dude, kind of became a celebrity in a small town, like overnight sensation. I'm driving through. Did you find your deer? Hey, I'm Jake, man. What do you mean? How do you know who I am? You know. But man, it was, you know, I don't even know. It was so crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, you talked about this being your first high country hunt. So, as an archer, leading into all this, what's your preparation look like?
Was not enough.
Was not
for
enough.
sure.
Okay.
You know, I was really busy. We're in the middle of moving our shop, and so, you know, when I messed up that shot, I immediately am kicking myself, thinking this is your fault. Like, you're an idiot. You know, you should have been shooting more and all that stuff. But you know, and I shot and I practiced, but just not like I should have. But you know, I kind of follow, I would say, like the Cameron Haynes, Josh Bomar rule of, hey man, I'm going to go out and shoot 70, 80, 90 and be able to hit targets consistent at that, so that if I had to make that shot on that once in a lifetime buck, I'm comfortable enough to do it. But man, when you shoot 90 yards consistently, what's a 30-yard shot? I mean, you can do that in your sleep, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of that, and I would say too, you know, especially, you know, for the guys that live in Utah or live in, you know, Colorado and stuff, they're used to that altitude, man, scouting. You know, scouting was, and not even scouting to find the deer, to get in shape.
Yeah.
I run 10 miles a day getting prepared for that. And when we went and scouted for the first time, it didn't help me at all.
Really?
You know, altitude, the mountains, it's totally different. The only way you get good at it is by doing it.
Yeah.
And so I would say scouting, you know, we went on 4 or 5 scouting trips, and I would, you know, I'd put full bags of water and just crap in my pack that I did not need to take with me just to prep for the, you know, being on the terrain, being on the hunt, because it, you know, we went and hunted Montana pronghorn and in the flatlands, and that kicked my butt. And so I knew going into this, being in the high country at, you know, that 10 to 12,000 feet, I needed to do something to be able to chase these animals and do it effectively and not end up being, well, you know, I can shoot 90 yards and taking a really crappy, unethical shot, you know, and wanted to set myself up for success. And I would say, you know, scouting, getting in the mountains, walking around, just being active, and then shooting your bow as much as you can. You know, getting every night, even if it's just 20 yards, you know, repetitions of pulling the trigger and not having that target panic goes millions of miles long.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I normally adhere to a similar model as far as, you know, shooting longer ranges and everything. Definitely last year, preparing for that mule deer hunt that I went on, was the same mentality, right? That, hey, I need to be good to go out to 100 is my mindset and everything. And then I would always, like, I would start at like 40, 50 and start working my way out for practice for that day, whatever the case might be. But I would always end by shooting an arrow at 20 and an arrow at 30, just to remind myself how easy it feels.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, when I shoot, I would say for my practice too, and maybe it's my ADHD, but shooting at like a paper target or even a foam target that just has, you know, like the circle targets, dude, I cannot shoot them. I don't know if I like what it is, but I can't. So I shoot a lot of foam, and it's a little more realistic too, you know. But dude, foam targets, I'm slapping the 12 ring, you know.
Yeah.
On a target, I'm all over the place. I don't know if that gives me target panic or what, but shooting foam feels nice too. And then you kind of get an idea of kind of, you know, like I play that game of guessing the range, and I'll send an arrow, see where I hit, and then range with my rangefinder, because sometimes like for instance on your whitetail hunt last year, you know, sometimes you don't know.
Right.
And being able to get, you know, within a 5-yard thing can still get you in that lethal kill zone and it be an ethical shot.
Yeah. despite my mishap with my whitetail, I still had to. I changed to a new sight last year, and last year I ran the CBE Trek. It's a two pin sight.
Yeah.
It functions like a single pin, but you got 2 pins and 2 indicators on your tape.
Oh, cool.
So you have that pin gap, and the pin gap changes. So if I have a shot at, let's say, 20 yards, well, that top pin can be 20, but then the bottom pin will say 34 or 35 or whatever,
wow.
or probably more like 30, around the 30 mark. So, okay, that's pretty normal, right? A 20 to a 30-yard gap. But then the farther out you start getting, the bigger that gap gets, because
really?
the tape doesn't change. The distance between the 2 pins doesn't change. So 20 and 30 might be here, but then you get down here at the bottom and it's a 20-yard gap between 80 and 100, which obviously you're not gap shooting at that distance and everything. But still, I was having to play around with it because I'm like, man, like, this is all great and everything. Like, I have a reference point for, 36 and 45 or whatever, but like I still gotta be ready in that distance. And that's my challenge to any archer is, you can shoot your round numbers all day long and have pins set for them, but what are you going to do when that deer's at 27 yards or 38 yards,
Or when you draw back on them and your bow goes, "Ee," and that deer goes from 28 to 34.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, he took 6 steps. 6 steps is about a yard. Each step's a yard, so he went about 6 yards. Where do I aim? That's something I do too, because I shoot a single pin.
Yeah.
I cannot, I don't know. A double pin I probably could do, but, them 4 pin, 3 pin, 5 pin sights, man, I can't do it. Even with the floater pin, it's just it messes me up, messes up my eyes. I get target panic really bad.
Yeah.
And so I've learned to, like when I'm on 20, I know about halfway down my sight, if I'm sighted at 20, I can hit 30, and right above my bubble, I can hit 40. Mm-hmm. And then, but like you said too, if I go out to 50 yards, middle of my sight's about 80, and bottom of my sight's about 94.
Yeah.
And like we talked earlier too, 41 yards to 46 yards is the difference of 4 inches from where you're aiming. And so knowing that and being resilient in your appetite of taking that is very, very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. It's, people take it for granted, right? Not just the difference between yardages like that in the world of archery, but also just, I don't know where I was going with that.
I think we take a huge advantage of it in Texas because we can feed.
Right.
We got feeders,
Yes.
so we're like, well, my feeder's 23 yards, so let me set my pin and never touch this unless a deer walks out.
Well, that, and you range everything, right? You're sitting in a tree stand, and that's any stationary setup, right? You range everything. You have the trail that deer walks in on ranged. You have the feeder ranged, or you have that scrape, that mock scrape ranged, whatever it might be. But that doesn't translate out west.
Not at all.
Not at all.
And I used to talk so much like, oh, Westie hunters think they're so cool. Oh, they think y'all hunt over a feeder, like, oh, you just wish you could. And then you go out there and do it, and you're like, man, Texas hunt. I mean, listen, I love Texas hunting. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But you're out there west, and you're like, this is 10 times more fun, and the challenge is magnified by 100x.
Yeah. And
you're like, man, this is real hunting. Like, I get why maybe people were kind of talking smack on Texas hunting a little bit. Like, it's a total different ball game, and I enjoy it a lot more. That was, like I said, my first archery mule deer. I'll be back next year. I'll be putting in for multiple states next year, and I'm hoping that I'm going from, Utah to Arizona, to New Mexico back to Texas, just hunting my whole way home.
Doing a little tour, yeah.
It'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome. You tell me about the Montana pronghorn, because you mentioned that one and that being a challenging hunt.
Man, that was wild. So my business partner, that was a rifle hunt. He had missed a pronghorn monster, man, like 5 times that first morning. We did 18 miles chasing that antelope.
Yeah.
And, every time we get up, I mean, you get on top of a hill, they just crossed, and it takes you, 5 minutes to get up there. And next thing you know, there's 6 hills over.
Yeah.
They just bust down, and it's crazy. And so, watching him and him shooting over every time, I was like, man, what is going on? Didn't think about the altitude, for the bullets. And so he finally was like, hey, man, I'm done for the day. Like, I'm done. Let's go try to find you one. And, man, my actual, like, when I shot mine was not that bad, but we got super lucky. Spotted him at about 2 miles away, jumped out the truck, start heading down, and we're belly crawling past this old barn on this property. And we're belly crawling. And we get to a point, he's about 700 yards. And my buddy Cage that we were with, up there with Golden Outfits, he was Golden Outfitting. He's like, are you comfortable taking that? And, man, my furthest shot was 300 yards. I was like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, we got to get closer then. And so I'm thinking, man, another 400 or 500 yards of belly crawling. Like, this is going to suck. Well, that pronghorn spooked, and he spooked up. And it's funny, actually, I saw it on Instagram the other day of a guy talking about if you spook a pronghorn, don't move. Just stay there. Because they're very, very curious. That deer spooked to about 1,000 yards, came all the way back up on top of this hill, and then started beelining it straight to us. And we sat there for 15 minutes, and he would take 10 steps and stop, 10 steps and stop, 10 steps and stop. He came all the way into about 340 yards. And finally, now at this point, I'm like, dude, just tell me, can I shoot him, please? Like, I'm jonesing over here, and able to put, and I saw Rich, miss high, and so I didn't dial or anything. My gun sighted in at 100 yards, and he's like, do you see that U on his chest? I was like, yeah. He was like, 1/4-2 shot, similar to your mule deer.
Yeah.
And he was like, put it right in his armpit. And as soon as he said, put it right in his armpit, I was, boom, dropped him.
Nice.
And it was awesome. And the next day, Rich was able to kill his because I told him, he was like, where'd you aim, man? I was like, what'd you dial to? I said, I didn't. 7 mag, shooting 139 grain SSTs. I said, just held right on him. I was like, if I'm going to miss, I'm going to miss low. We've been missing high, I'm going to miss low.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, even then, that entire stalk, because we had to go down and then back around, was about 4 miles.
Yeah.
And Cage is over there, he's like, dude, hurry up. And, I'm flatlander down here in Texas, keeled over, just trying to catch my breath. And he's like, dude, we got to go. And that's the thing about Western hunting too is, man, I have a whole new respect for any guy that does it from Texas, living in Utah, Colorado, Montana. Like, it is so fast paced. It's not, people, ask me all the time, like, man, how do you go sit in a deer stand for, 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8-hour days, when you're doing all day sits later in the rut. And, sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know how I do it. It's
just what you do.
Yeah. It's a part of it. And those guys are like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
And then you go up there and you're with them and you're like, how in the world? Yeah, I can see why you could never sit in a stand because y'all are just running around a mountain for, 10 days.
It's two different worlds, man. And there should not be any disrespect or shade thrown one way or the other, in my opinion. You have lazy hunters in both worlds.
Oh, yeah.
100%. But I 100% get how a guy that's only hunted out west, spot and stalk, running and gunning like that, how coming to Texas and sitting in a stand would just drive you insane.
No doubt.
Right? I grew up in that. I have a love for that. I have a lot of I get a lot of peace and just, therapy just sitting there in a deer stand, it's a special place for me. But then it's also like strategies not to be taken for granted in that too, because
absolutely
you gotta, in a Western hunt, for example, like you look at the wind, all right, the wind's blowing out of southwest today. So just all of your stalks have to start from a certain direction. Whereas wind's blowing out of southwest today, so these stands on my property are out. Yep. I can't hunt these stands, and I got a buck daylighting at this stand. And it takes self-control to not go in there and
blow it out.
Completely blow that buck out of there. Likewise, just the whole nocturnal game, right? You might have a buck that is nocturnal, and you are staying out of his wheelhouse until he turns and starts daylighting. And then you're trying to hunt strategically with the wind and all the other factors in the time that you have to even get out there in the first place. Whereas Western hunting, you start your day and you try to find your deer, right? You're not looking at trail cam pictures and losing sleep over the fact that this deer will not turn daylight and get out of his nocturnal routine.
Or that one day where you're like, hey, I'm not going to go sit in the stand tomorrow. He's not going to be there. And all of a sudden you check your camera at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're like, dang it.
Dude, cell cams are a blessing and a curse, man.
Absolutely.
A blessing and
a
curse.
My gosh.
Yeah, There's some times where I wish that they didn't tell me what they told me.
Oh
But,
yeah, sitting at work and I get a picture and I'm like, can I leave right now?
Yeah.
What are we doing today?
Yeah.
Should I take this absence?
How
Take some
important
time off.
is my job today? Exactly.
Absolutely.
No, I learned a lot I hunted Montana two years consecutive, 2018 and 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively the same area, but not the exact same spot. You know, for pronghorn the 2 years, and I realized the second year how lucky I was the first year. I know we talked about my pronghorn experience before we started recording, but like I think back to that, and I really wasn't prepared to fling an arrow more than 60, 70 yards going up there. And I lucked out getting to shoot a buck, the caliber buck I shot at that over a water hole at 42 yards.
Absolutely.
And which is kind of a cool story because we saw that buck on a different property we didn't have access to the day before. And he was distinct because his cutter on his left side, it wasn't broke off, but it had started separating. It was like halfway hanging off.
Really?
So he was very unique, and he was the biggest buck that we had seen so far. So we're like, man, that'd be awesome to see a buck like that. Fast forward 24 hours later, I'm sitting in a water hole. This buck comes walking in, cruising. I'm just trying not to think about how big he seems to me and just focus on my shot. But I catch a glimpse of that cutter, and this is 3 miles away.
Yeah.
And I caught a glimpse of it. I put it on my mind. I made a shot. I killed him. I watched him go down. And then I called Drew, my buddy up there, and I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure it's the same buck. I'm pretty sure it's the same buck. He's like, there's no way. And sure enough, we walk up there. And I was lucky he didn't rip that freaking cutter off when he rolled down the hill.
Yeah,
shooting
right.
him. But it was barely hanging at that point, but it was still hanging. And I don't kick myself because I didn't know, and this isn't what it's about for me, but it still is kind of cool. I got him back from the taxidermist, and I had them repair it. Because I was like, yeah, it's there. I want them to look nice and symmetrical. Yeah, go ahead and repair it. So they fixed it. I posted a picture on my Facebook when I got the mount back, and a bunch of guys were like, dude, did you score him? Did you score him? Did you score him? No, never did. So I went and printed off, and did my own little green score on them and everything. And like the minimum to get into the Pope and Young record book for a pronghorn 67, and he taped out at like 68 and some change.
No
and I
kidding.
was like, dude, how cool would this be to have a buck, like a pronghorn, in the Pope and Young record book? So I started looking up what do you have to do. Because I had it repaired, he's ineligible.
No way.
If I had left it hanging, it still would have counted because it's still attached.
Yeah.
But
do you get extra? I wonder if you get extra like length on that, because now he's hanging out some. Do you get to count that? Because it's got to go from the middle of the main beam, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but no, any repair counts as artificial antler, and it's rendered ineligible just because of that. Yep, I learned that at that time. So, which again, I don't lose sleep over it because that's not what it's about for me. But at the same time, I was like, man, that would have been cool to actually be able to say that I had a pronghorn in the Pope and Young record book. But anyway, where I was going with all that, I went back in 2019, and it was a much harder hunt. I was more prepared for it as an archer, but it was a much more challenging hunt. We didn't have access to the same land that we had before, because before we were hunting a mix of public and private. I ended up killing him on the private. We didn't have that private anymore, so we were 100% public land, which that was special because Montana, to me, like in archery season, we had tens of thousands of acres without a soul in sight in Montana. And that was just unbelievable to me. At the same time, it was a lot harder to get on good pronghorn.
No doubt.
And the closest I got to a good buck was 120 yards the whole week.
Jeez.
So I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yes, I would have loved to kill one, but that's where I learned and got my true respect for Western hunting. I would say is out there.
100%. Well, and it humbles you. Yes. Like crazy, and because, and that it's the fun part of Western hunting, but kind of the sucky part is, like I told you, I'm out there scouting, finding new deer every day. So sometimes you get a little ADHD and you're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what buck to hunt, do all this, which is a good problem. At the same time, you can go out there and you're in one bowl and there's 10 dudes hunting in that same bowl, and they blow your deer out, and so now you have no idea where your target buck is. Or you go scout 3 months earlier, thinking, like I'd never seen that buck that I killed this year, or this week,
Yeah.
and no one had seen him. I think he was just elusive, but I could have seen him 3 weeks ago, and when I was on my scouting trip, came back up there, and he could have been 7 ridges over, and I'd have had no idea. I would have kept, taking that Texas mindset of he's gonna be back, he's gonna be back, he's gonna be back, and hunted there for 10 days and never seen him.
Yeah.
And so it humbles you.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was last year in Colorado, and I know you've met Tim.
Oh yeah.
Our guy out there that I hunted with, and he kept telling myself and Mike, or one of our other producers that was there, he's from Michigan, and he had a whitetail tag out there. So I was mule deer hunting, he was whitetail hunting. We were all hunting together out there. But he kept telling us, he's like, these deer are not like your Michigan deer or not like your Texas deer. Like these deer are different. These deer act different. They behave different. You gotta. And so many times throughout that week, Mike and I were trying to bring our Texas or our Michigan ways of hunting out there, and Tim's like, no, that's not what they're going to do. And by golly, pretty much every single time that Tim said they were going to do this, that's what they did. I lucked out because I killed mine on the 3rd day, and on the 4th day, if I didn't kill one on the 3rd day, I had told Tim, I'm taking that ground blind in your basement, and I'm going out here in this little patch of evergreens, and I'm Texas hunting these mule deer.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm glad I didn't do that.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's cool, like the people you can meet doing that, like, I mean, and I don't do this for a living, but whenever you have access and you start, a YouTube channel or something like that, and so you're committed to trying to get out and make new content. Dude, out there, like I said, my business partner posted on Facebook, dude, I became like a celebrity in Monticello for a couple days. People are, walking up to me and asking me if I found my deer, and you're meeting people. I mean, I have a guy over there who's like, dude, if you want to hunt my private land, like I have 4,000 acres on the bottom of the mountain that I have huge deer on that just come, 20 yards from my back porch.
Say when.
Yeah. When do I need to put in for that tag?
Yeah.
I got landowner tags. Just come buy one from me. Okay.
Yeah.
I met 6 or 7 guys that are guides all throughout Utah, that were like, dude, if you pull an elk tag, like call me, man. Like it's cool to meet you, man. Like I love what you're doing, and for me, I'm 25, right? So I got guys that are, 35, 40 years old with 30 years of hunting experience that are willing to let me come out there and they'll help me go on an elk hunt. That I get to learn firsthand right then and there how to do it, and not spend that 5-6 years putting in for a tag to go out there and blow it and not have any idea what I'm doing. Yeah. In this industry, good and bad sides, right? 100%. It's very competitive, and you can get into a spot with guys that just want to take you in and put you under their wing and teach you everything they know. The other side, man, I have been sabotaged by guys. I've bought pins from people like, hey man, I'm going to hunt, Colorado, and I've never hunted this unit that is over the counter. Like, I know you live up there. I followed you on Instagram. Like, would you mind helping me out? Like, I'll pay you for Onyx pins. Spend $1,000 on pins, go out there, don't see anything. Watch that guy post on Instagram 2 days later, killing a 360. And you're like, come on, man, I sent you money, man. Like, I wasn't just asking for a handout. And it's crazy, man. And then they'll laugh in your face, like, man, I can't tell you my secret spot. Like, you really thought I was going to do that? And it's like, what? Like, I'm out there, people are seeing me with my buck. Where'd you kill him? I'm like, dude, I probably sent 15 different guys pins. I'm like, go here. There's 7 other bucks in there. There's shooters. Go there. Yeah. But and I don't know. Some people get real, butthurt and bent out about, my secret spot, this or that. Hey, man, if it's not private, it's probably not a secret. Yeah. And everyone's going to be able to have access to it eventually. It doesn't matter. And I'm always about helping people because you never know what that guy could do for you. Yeah.
No, you're right with there being 2 sides to everything, and I believe that you truly get what, like, if you're going out there and putting in the work, right, it's going to pay off, and you just touched on it, right? You have a landowner offering to let you come out there and hunt next time. You build those relationships, you build those connections. Absolutely. They come to fruition, and that's a whole side to everything that I've come to learn just through our own organization is like, you don't have to pay all this big money with an outfitter to go have all these experiences, because growing up, that was just me being naive. I didn't know any better. I'd grown up hunting Texas and never hunt anywhere else. A Montana anything hunt was just a video on a screen to me.
doubt.
You know, it was never something that I thought I would go do. But then you start realizing that the whole thing that public land has to offer, for starters, you know,
Which we have none here, which stinks,
so
man.
yeah, and I won't say we have none, because I just podcasted with a guy that I go to church with. His name's Jesse Johnson, and he is one of the most epic and successful Texas public land hunters that
I know
I've
there's a
ever
little
met.
bit, but I haven't dove. I know there's tags you can pull. Like I put in for the Texas draws and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of them are actually on private land. But I know that you can. I haven't dove into it. I've heard it's really hard. So to hear someone that's successful, that's awesome.
Man.
Because I've heard it is the biggest pain in the butt.
So he puts in the work, and he went full send, right? It wasn't a, hey, I'm gonna juggle a hunting lease and all this other stuff and maybe go on some public land. It was like, no, I am a public land hunter, and he went full send into it. He scouts it. He goes farther back than anybody else, and past few years he's killed more deer than me.
Oh, yeah.
Every year. And I won't get off on a Jesse's story with this, but the other side of it is he does it all with a trad bow now too. So he's just a stud. But
Well, and that's what you just touched on is something that my buddy that I hunt with, like when we went bear hunting, we hunt Texas together, Idaho. It sucks, man. I pulled a tag in Utah and he did too. My unit backs up to his unit, so we didn't get to hunt together for Utah, but we hunt together all over the place. And you know, he took away my bear hunt, and I looked up and I was like, "Where are we?" And he goes, "The shittiest spot in Utah." And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Just wait." So we're hiking 10 miles a day straight up, man. You know, we're going from 3,000 feet to 6,000 feet in 500 yards. No BS. And but in 10 days we saw 19 bears.
wow.
And I learned a great lesson. One, getting in better shape before you go on those hunts. And two, when you go to the stuff that sucks, that's where the big animals are, and that's where no one else is.
Exactly.
And, you know, we had, like I was telling you, overnight sensation in Utah, right? I'm talking to guides, and they're like, "Where were you hunting?" And I'm on Onyx showing them. They're like, "You're from Texas, right?" "Yeah." "You went all the way back there into that?" I'm like, "Yeah, like we don't even want to go hunt through that crap." You know, and so I'm thinking in my head, like, am I dumb? But then the deer I took, I'm like, I guess I did the right thing.
Yeah.
But that's a huge part. You got to go into the suckiest stuff to kill, the cool animals. And also, I think that also helped me with this being my first time and those animals not spooking. There was no pressure. That front side of that mountain, when we would come down to go to camp, or when we camped on top of the mountain, but when we'd go, and just glass over that other side, there's 15 or 20 people that are 600 yards off the trail hunting that front side of the mountain.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm only 2 miles back on the other side, which 2 miles far away, but no one.
Yeah.
And I think that saved me. Those deer were probably like, "Man, what's going on here? Like, what is this green bush thingy doing that's like running down the hill at me right now?" They probably had never seen a human, or not a whole lot of us.
Yeah.
And so going into that does help too, where you can make mistakes but still capitalize on them, which is huge, right? Because we're always going to mess up a stock in some shape or form.
Absolutely. No, great point. That and your Hoot Camo does the job for you, man.
Man, let me tell you, that was so awesome. I had pictures and videos down there, and it's funny, we're walking through the trees and we're in an open field, and the camo looks sick, right? You're like, man, that blends in. And then all of a sudden I'm in deep dark cover, and I'm still blending in. You're like, how does that camo morph like that? It's insane how good that camo is.
And that, like, I'm not bringing this up to make this a hoot ad. I believe in that much. And you and I have that mutual connection. That's how we got connected, was at the Hoot booth the other day. But I had the same experience in Colorado, because I understood the concept of it, and it made sense to me. I did my research on it and everything. I was like, man, this stuff looks pretty good, and it looks like it'll work. And the concept being, again, with the name Hoot, the owl, the ultimate predator, a natural predator, always blends in wherever it's at somehow, and taking that mindset and putting it in a camo pattern. I get up to Colorado, and like I told you earlier, I drove in on a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So. And it snowed a few inches. It wasn't like white out, but still the cornfields or the evergreens that we're in, the CRPs that are still high, you have all this white in there. And I went back and looked at the footage. I didn't realize it when I was out there, but looking back at the footage, I was like, I was wearing the buho pattern.
Yeah.
All of the whites and the grays in that pattern just came out.
That you have no idea are there. When I hunted Montana mule deer last year, same thing.
Yeah.
We came in, it was perfect weather. We go out to Miles City and get dumped on, and that was a whiteout. And I was like, do I need to be wearing snow
White,
camo and wearing white? And same thing, man. We taking videos and looking back, and I was like, how in the world can I wear this? I love the buho. It's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
How am I wearing this in Texas archery, 90 degrees outside, sun shining bright, and I have deer walking, 10 feet under my ladder stand, and then I'm also in Montana in the snow having a mule deer walk, 100 yards in front of me and not see me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it morphs.
No, I was blown away because that happened, and I'm like, holy cow, this is working. And then on the flip side, the snow melts a few days later, and we're just in these CRP fields, and now it's like, oh my word, these browns and these darker grays and the blacks and the tans, they're all popping out of the pattern, and they're concealing us and everything. The guys, Tim going up there, we had that hunt right after we got connected and affiliated with the Hoot guys. That was my first hunt in Hoot Camo.
Oh, awesome.
And so we go up there, and Tim was kind of like, man, like, this will be the ultimate test for it. Like, we'll see how well this pattern works and how well it holds up durability-wise in all these sticky and prickly CRP fields, which, phenomenal, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, them watching me through their binos on that mule deer stalk, they couldn't see me.
Yeah.
I had a black beanie on.
And that's
and
the only distinction.
Every once in a while, I'd see a black dot out there, like, oh, yep, that's where Sam is. They couldn't see anything else.
Awesome.
And I was just like, man, that's just a testament to the gear, man.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You model a pattern off of
natural.
A natural predator that, you don't see. I keep thinking of things, sorry, but I had an owl also. I can't remember if I texted Robson or not, but I was sitting in my tree stand in Texas after that when I came back late season wearing my Hoot, and I kept hearing an owl, like two owls talking to each other, flying around the clearing and everything. I was like, oh, this is cool, just thinking about Hoot and everything. And one of them freaking landed on a branch right next to me.
You know what? My West Texas mule deer hunt, I have a video of an owl sitting on a branch, and I didn't even think about it. But, I was thinking, oh, we're skinning a mule deer, owl's over here. But same thing, 20 yards from us, and I'm in my full-on Hoot gear.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Same, like you just said, remembering things from a hunt. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was just like, I was trying to get my camera turned without spooking it to actually get a video of it, because I was like, this is, like, I'm wearing an owl pattern right now. And now an owl's landing right here. No idea that I'm there. It was awesome.
That's freaking sweet. And like you said, I'm not trying to make it a Hoot thing, but they're lightweight pants, they're buho pants. I hunted those bear up in Idaho. Dude, I fell 150 yards down the mountain sliding on my butt.
Oh, crap.
And all I did was make a hole about the size of a quarter in them. Yeah. And I'm 150 yards just straight down. We call it the ski slope.
Yeah. You
start going down, you're just sliding. Rocky, trees, vines, kudzu, and one tiny little hole.
Yeah.
It's crazy how
the durability is insane. Crawling 400 yards through that CRP field, like, not even a loose thread, not a snag.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
And I was a big Sitka guy before. I was huge into that. I have way too much money into that. And when they hit me up, I was like, I'm a young creator and I don't have a lot of followers. Camo sponsor would be cool. And then, dude, first time you put it on, you're a believer. You're like, wow, this is insane. And dude, I'll wear my Hoot Camo pants just out. Like, we'll go to dinner, and I'm like, I'm going to wear these bad boys. They're kind of a fashion piece now.
Yeah. Well, all aspects, man, I've fallen in love with it. Like, even the warmth, like, we were in the single digits those first couple days in Colorado. A couple times. Like, we would start the day in single digits, that is. I would have on a good base layer. Like, I'm a believer that's 100%. a big part of the battle right there, obviously. I'd have it on a good base layer, just a t-shirt, whatever t-shirt I was wearing for the day. and then I wore their fleece, their pullover, and then their heavyweight, and that was it. Later, a few weeks later, we do a veteran hunt here at Fall Obsession every year.
Oh, awesome.
Or the last 3 years we have, and so I was in camp mid-December for that, and I was wearing my camo, and we had to, the roads were bad, it had just rained, it's, panhandle, it's red clay, it's nasty and everything, so couldn't get a truck to the stand with our vets. So I was like, hey, we got to drive the side-by-side all the way. It's a 30-minute drive, and there's no windshield. And so I put on the same setup I wore in Colorado, right? And all these other guys come walking out dressed like the Michelin men with all their layers, and they're looking at me like, you're going to freeze, son. Nope. I'm going to be just fine.
That's another thing. Isn't it crazy how cold here is different than up north?
It's so much different.
Like, when I was hunting Montana in the snow, I was actually wearing I did think it was going to snow, so I didn't pack any of my heavyweight stuff. I was in all my lightweight stuff.
Yeah.
Because they got an early snowstorm that wasn't supposed to happen. And same thing. I went to Shields and bought those hot chili under base layers. I wore that in my lightweight pants, and I was completely warm, But then come back to Texas, dude. I'm hot chilies heavyweight, and I'm warm. But it's crazy how you have to change, from the humidity down here, how much colder it can be. 30 degrees here is feels like 70 in Montana. We were pronghorn hunting. It was 40 degrees, and I was in a t-shirt and. Yeah, dude, I could have been wearing shorts and been fine.
No, I told you about getting down to the ground blind where I killed mine. It was 55, 60 degrees, and I'm pouring sweat. I've sweat through my shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
Totally different. Yep. 50 degrees here, you're in the stand. Can't even, you can take a shot, and it's not because you're hyped up, but you're just freezing cold.
Exactly. Man, you've talked about being a creator and everything, and I want to talk about that aspect and that side of everything that you're doing, because one of the platforms that you have established is TikTok. And it's no secret the challenge of being a hunter, an outdoorsman, whatever other label you want to associate with it, and being on a platform like that. I guess my question is, how do you do it?
Tough. It's very playful, very, very strong on the editing, on what I'm going to post. Man, I for every video that I have up of hunting, I probably have 10 get taken down. I've had my account totally shut down and had to call TikTok to get it reopened up. They put me down for animal abuse and all this stuff. And, it pisses me off, right? We're one nation under God, right? I have it tattooed right there, Genesis 27:3. Go grab your bow and quiver and hunt and game for me. It is a God-given right. And you're going to tell me that I can't post that? I get it, man. You don't, if some dude's out there and he's smoking 60 coyotes and making a video, maybe that's obsessive. Some regions of the world, or some regions of the United States, that's not obsessive. It needs to, or not excessive, it needs to happen. But right. I can understand how on a platform they're like, hey man, we don't need to see you going out there and just going on a slaughter fest. But man, shooting a whitetail buck, shooting a whitetail doe, going on a mule deer hunt, it's hard, man. Like I said, I've been shadow banned. My views are down like crazy on TikTok right now. I've been trying to really push a lot more onto YouTube shorts. And I'll tell you where I've been posting a lot of stuff is on X. And I'm about to buy their premium status and start posting on there. Because since Elon took it over, you can kind of post whatever on there within reason, obviously, right. And that's my big problem with TikTok too right now is, not to get too graphic, but a girl can jump around in a bikini and, shake whatever they have, and that's totally fine. But me, walking, and that's the thing that's crazy too, is I don't even post kill shots or anything like that on there. No. It's me, walking across the mountain or walking to my deer stand with a gun or a bow in my hand. They take it off. Yeah. And it's insane, So TikTok's really hard, You really play with editing. You'll see a video and it's me and you're like, man, why would he crop it, to where all I can see is his bino harness and, his head. And it's because I'm trying to crop my bow out because they get mad about that. Yeah. And, I'll say too, unless you're a really big name on there, Josh Bomar, Ty Jordan's really big. He's from Utah. they do a lot of, and I've talked to Ty, and I know has had issues before, if I'm not mistaken, with even just shooting foam targets, that look like animals, and them taking videos down. He's like, dude, it's fake, bro. It's hard, and YouTube's getting bad too. I've had 4 or 5 videos taken down on YouTube saying that it was animal abuse and excessive blood because I walked up on the deer and I put a perfect lung shot on it with my bow, which doesn't happen often, but when it does, I make sure I document it because that stuff's cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's excessive. That's excessive. You don't need to show that, but it sucks too. Like, when I was growing up, like that was, I'm one YouTube video away from knowing how to do this. That's how I learned how to skin deer.
Yeah.
You can't post that stuff anymore. You
Right.
can't educate people, and it's hard. Like being a creator in this industry is hard, especially if you don't have a name, if you're up and coming. But my advice would be is to just stick with it, push through it. When they, I guess, audit my videos or anything like that, like I appeal every single one of them. I will call them. I will send emails. I am resilient on trying to get my content out there because that's the only way they'll keep it up. If you tuck tail and run away, then they've won, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to kill us and make us, kill the breed and kill the fun, and it sucks to see. There's a lot of guys that I know that have so much potential and could do amazing things in this industry and be a top creator and have access to, family property or just, their grandpa's been hunting, and I mean the dude lives and breathes it, and they're afraid to post anything because they just don't want it to get taken down or they don't want to mess with the hassle, and it sucks, man, because there's awesome guys out there that could blow me out of the water, and they don't want to deal with it, and it really does. It's hard.
Yeah. No, and yeah, the shadow banning and all that stuff is just it's so frustrating. And I know that there's people. I feel like we as an organization have been very, very fortunate with not having a whole lot of stuff taken down necessarily, but you can definitely see the throttling that is there just for the industry as a whole. And I take pride in the fact that I don't pay for views, I don't pay for followers.
100%.
All the growth is organic, right? Like that's a pride thing for me.
I'm the same way.
It's so frustrating. To your point, you're trying to educate, you're trying to show actually what it really is like in a world of media where people are looking for it, they want to learn about it. No.
When it sucks when, like I said, guys can go, and it's not just girls. I know I said girls earlier, but like, guys are wearing, these pants that are just absolutely just skin tight, no underwear, right? Girls wearing nothing, and they can do that, but I'm doing something that's beneficial to my family, right? Like it puts food on my table. It's educational, and I can't post that, and
Right.
it blows my mind. It's a crazy world we live in, man.
It is.
To where that's what we're promoting now, and that's what's good. It's, I don't know. I disagree with it. I think it's dumb.
Yeah, I would say that there are platforms out there, and it seems like they come and go. There are some constants that are dedicated to hunting the outdoors or are censorship free truly to to those extents and that kind of thing. So I encourage people all the time to take advantage of it. And even though like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they're the defaults, right? Everybody has a profile on there, and that's where everybody seems to spend most of their time. If you're truly passionate about wanting to learn about hunting or that kind of thing, like if there's other platforms out there, one, go find them, become a part of them, and then tell people about them.
No doubt.
Because that's the best way to help get the word out and everything.
100%. Yeah, and that's why I've really, started trying to push content on X. I think X is going to be the next YouTube, the new TikTok, and I want to be one of the first guys, and I tell everyone about that. And I know some of the Guggen Squad guys, the fishing stuff, and I'm really good friends with, used to be John B's filmer. His name's Alex Blackwell, and he's the one that turned me on to X. He was like, dude, it's the next big thing. And you can post, any kind of fit. I mean, and that's what's crazy is, like I have a big problem in this industry as well with, like when I post a video, my girlfriend's editing a video for me right now for my last year, our Archery whitetail hunt. I killed an awesome buck, man. Big 9-point, big, huge bases. no width, just straight up, man, which is like my dream deer. And she's editing my video, and I was like, hey, where are my 3 misses? And she goes, well, I didn't want to put that in there. I'm like, no, like that's a part of it. Like, you know, and a lot of, and I mean, no fault to her. She doing the right thing, because that video is already 15 minutes long. She's trying to save space, because, you know, no one wants to watch me miss for 20 minutes. but you know, a lot of guys don't, and they don't put that in there, and they don't show that. And so I think it's also hard, and that's part of that social media thing, which is just in any industry is, oh man, that guy's life is so awesome. He's on the beach all the time. Oh man, that guy's life is so awesome. He's hunting, and he, you know, man, Jake's such a great shot. He never misses. How is he so good? It's like, I don't want to be that. I am 100% open. When I post my mule deer video, you're going to see me cuss at the camera and say I hit him right in the punch. Like, that sucks. You know, I'm not going to, you know, fake it and be like, man, awesome shot. I smoked him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just pan to the video where my bow is hiding, you know, where the coyotes ate him out, because I left him out for a night, which sucked, right? But where I put my bow to hide that in the pictures and just post a picture like, you know, the next day, didn't go 20. You know, I hate the fakeness, and there's a lot of that in this industry too.
Yeah.
Especially on the big shows and stuff like that, you know, and I didn't realize it until I was told it, but if you go and watch Sportsman's channel, just watch, they, like, whenever they are doing their filming stuff, 90% of that is actually done after they've already killed the deer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And so, I mean, I was just like, man, these guys are, you know, kind of awkward on camera. No, they're not actors.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing, is acting. I want everything to be genuine in the moment. If I can't get my kill shot on camera, it is what it is. I'm going to show you the true reaction, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not an actor. So I want you to see what's real. And, you know, when I missed that buck 3 times, you're going to see the emotion on my face, and me just being pissed off at the entire world and pissed off at myself at what's going on, because that's a real frustration that any hunter, but especially an archer, is going to go through.
Yeah. Mishaps
with your equipment, mishaps for you just getting too excited, buck fever, you know, it's a real thing. And when you put it out there that you never miss, and you're just super deadly lethal, and maybe there's guys out there that are like that, but it's not me, and I'm not going to act like it's me.
No, there's 100% a non-authentic side to this industry, in my opinion, and you hit the nail on the head with that. And like, we pride ourselves here on being authentic, about sharing on the shows the real problems, about talking on the podcast about the real problems. Like, I missed that buck back in November. Actually, the same day that I missed that buck down here, our staff manager, he missed a buck, or hit and didn't recover a buck up in Michigan. Mm-hmm. Same day. So what do? We recorded a podcast about it. Yeah. And we talked about it. And it sucks. Like, it was not like...
Not a fun podcast.
It's an educational episode, but I definitely wasn't one of my favorite episodes. But that's part of hunting, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, like, we got cameras, we have platforms, we share content in whatever regard. But in my mind, we're just like everybody else. You know, yeah, we're go-getters, and we'll go out there, get the job done. We take initiative to go out west and go on these experiences like you did, but you work for it, right? You put in the work that anybody would be putting on camera or not, you know, going on that experience. So why not share the authentic side of it? You know?
Well, and I try to include everyone. You know, like I told you, I met all those guys up there when we were in Utah, and there was 4 or 5 of them that had a tag, and I was like, dude, like, if you shoot a deer, call me.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're hunting with 6 buddies, but a 7th guy is just going to make that pack out easier. Call me. I don't care if you're 10 miles deep or 10 steps deep. Call me, dude. I'll come help you.
Yeah.
You know, hey, if you want me to come film your hunt, because that's a cool thing too. That, you know, I mean, a lot of people, they're like, oh man, you film, like they kind of treat you different. Like, you're like so cool, like, you know, that you film hunts, and it's
anybody can film.
100%. And dude, I'll film for you. You know, I want you to have that. I have an awesome camera. I'll take awesome pictures for you, you know, but these are also pretty awesome now.
Yeah.
And you can film, you know, anyone can do it, but I like to open it up to people, especially when I'm out there, like, you know, hey dude, if you have, you know, if you're hunting a low fence property and you have 20 acres and dude, you're like, man, I have the buck of my dreams coming in, call me, I'll come film it. It's content for me. Maybe that's what gets you, you know, out there into content, because we need more guys.
Yeah.
And I'm a competitive person by nature, but competition breeds productivity and breeds success.
Yeah.
If you and I are doing the same thing, we're in competition, but if we're competing at a at a respectful level and also helping each other out, I'm going to go ahead of you and you're going to be like, oh, Jake's ahead of me. I got to catch up. You're going to go, and then you're going to bounce, 3 steps in front of me, and then we're just going back and forth, and we're learning from each other the whole time.
I don't even really look at it as competition. Like, I encourage anybody to go out there and record a podcast, start a podcast or film your hunts, share your stuff online, whatever it might be. And like you, for example, I might look at something that you're doing. You might have more followers than me, or people can look at it from a standpoint of, oh, Jake's ahead, right? I don't look at that as me being like, oh, I got to beat Jake. I look at it as, man, Jake's doing this, this, and this. Those are good ideas. I'm gonna apply that to what I'm doing.
Yeah. Maybe competition was a wrong word then, but that I'm the same way, and it's about seeing, and like my whole thing is like, I have buddies of mine that when I started social media, they were like, hey man, I think I want to start. I'm like, dude, go for it. Yeah. And Caleb, for instance, he started social media after me, and he's got 500,000, followers on TikTok. And I'm not sitting there like, man, wow, I've been doing this for so long. How did Caleb do that? I'm like, dude, hell yeah, you are killing it, bro. Like, what are you doing? Can you help me now? Like, but, anything like that.
And when that happens, right? Like, hey, what are you doing that I'm not doing? Like, it's not, again, it shouldn't be nah, man, those are my secrets.
Exactly.
That's my hunting spot. It shouldn't be that same mentality. Mm-hmm. Like, let's help each other. Let's figure it out, because there's so many different avenues that different people can take in this industry, right? And like, for example, you're doing stuff that we're not, we're doing stuff that you're not, and vice versa. And it's not that we have to be doing the same thing. It's not that we're trying to be better than one or the other. We're all trying to make it in the same space, and like there's not a set number of slots, right?
100%. Well, and I think we need more people in it.
We do, 100%.
And I encourage anyone watching this, anyone that watches my YouTube, that follows me on social media, I'm always going to encourage, and and if you shoot me a message and I don't respond, it's not that I don't think I'm cool. I probably just honestly didn't see it, because if you have a question, if you were like, hey man, I pulled a tag in Utah, like, where did you hunt? Or, hey man, I saw the deer you killed in Utah, where did you hunt? I'm not going to tell you like, oh man, I hunted, northern Utah when I was in southeast Utah. I'm more than likely, I'm going to send you the pin on Onyx and say, dude, I hunted right here. This is where I glassed. Go there. Hey dude, I'm actually going to be up there in September. Call me when you go up there. Let's go hunt together. Yeah. I'm very open to that, because you never know who you're going to meet. The next kid that I randomly meet, that's a couple years younger than me, that's hunting, could be the next Josh Bomar. And what if I'm like, yeah, that's cool, I know that guy, and all of a sudden he's like, hey man, I remember when Jake helped me, like, hey man, I got this opportunity to go on a caribou hunt, like, you should come with me. You never know, and I hope that I'm that guy for someone else in the future. Yeah. And it's you constantly, and me and Robson talk about this all the time. Your network is your net worth. And it doesn't have to be a money thing. It's just about having guys with a common interest of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. How can I help? I'm willing to do anything. And we both benefit from it, like, dude, I've told like 20 guys where I hunted last year, and I know they're all putting in for the same tag. Yeah. I hope every single one of them pulls it. And I hope we have a 20-person deep camp, and we cover that whole mountain with Texas boys next year. Yeah. And it's fun. And the Utah boys that I've met this year, I want to hunt with everyone and experience it, because everyone has a different style, a different experience, a different point of view. And when you get in there and you can just get in that mixing pot, you never know, what's going to come about it. You blow a stock, but you were successful. Hey, I'm upset, but all of a sudden I'm in camp, and I do sleep well that night, because I'm so stoked that you killed a deer today. Right. That I'm not losing sleep. I'm excited to wake up in the morning and go fill my tag.
Yeah. No, it's a brotherhood. It's a family, and like I said, we're not. It's not a race, right?
Oh yeah.
We're all there to. And I like what Robson said about your network is your net worth. That's a pretty.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty educated statement right there.
Especially from Robson.
Yeah, I'll give him all the credit. I will probably quote that, but I'll give him all the credit for sure.
Oh yeah.
That I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
Man, so I have a couple questions that I like to ask all of first time guests on our show.
Oh boy.
They're not hard. And
Do I need to take notes?
No notes are required. The first one is, and we might have already talked about it for all I know, but I always ask, what is one of your favorite hunting memories to date in your entire life? And some guys got to dig back in the archives for a minute and think about it, but we always like to hear about one of those valuable experiences.
So I don't know if you're a religious guy.
Yeah.
So I'm very, like, don't go to church as much as I should, don't read the Bible as much as I should, but I am a believer and a big time believer. Man, you know, there's two. So last year when I killed that big buck, and I have a long story about it, but I'll cut it short because I want to tell both sides of this. So last year when I killed that big buck, we were in the middle of doing some stuff with BMF, the custom rifle company, and things weren't really going my way. I was thinking about, I took basically a year off for the YouTube and TikTok stuff because every time I posted it'd get banned, and I was just pissed off. And, I'd missed that deer 3 times, and I don't think I was, like, really blaming God, but I guess, like, I was. Obviously I was. And when I was younger, I'd always be like, when I went to church, I'm like, why doesn't God talk to us anymore? Stuff like that. Dude, I'm sitting in the deer stand in the morning, I kill that deer, and it's like 8:30, and in Texas, you can get out of the stand about 9:30. If they're not there, you're probably done for the day.
So many guys are gonna hear that and be like, "What? No, you don't do that. You don't ever do that." No, there's something to be said about it, man. Normally about 9:30, I'm getting a text from my dad. Hey, you done yet?
Yep. Oh, 100%. And so it's like 8:30, 8:45, and it's the one morning that my girlfriend didn't go hunt with me, because she'll hunt with me and film for me and stuff, and she was like, I want to sleep in. You haven't been seeing this deer. I'm not going to wake up, blah, blah, blah. And it was Deuteronomy 14:10 or 15:10. I can't remember exactly now, but it popped in my head. And like I said, I don't know the Bible like that, so I get on my Bible app on my phone, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'm not a theologian, but it was something basically saying like I put you on your path, just put you on your path, keep grinding, do not put the blame on me, it's all going to work out in the end. If you trust me and trust my process and follow in faith, like, everything's going to work out. Dude, I had this instant, just like, weight off my shoulders, relief. I looked out the blind window. Dude, colors got brighter, sounds were vibrant, if that's even a thing. Like, it was amazing. And dude, like I said, it's like 8:40. I have, no morale is totally low. I'm about to get out of the stand. I got my feet kicked up with my boots off in the deer stand, and that pops in my head. I read it, and I'm looking around. I'm just like, almost like, what was in my coffee this morning? What's going on? Dude, that deer walks right in at 23 yards. And I put the best shot I've ever put on a deer. Little .2. I don't know why everything I shoot is quarter away or .2, but even a little .2, smack him, and he runs 30 yards and super ethical. Deer had no pain, and was just the craziest thing ever. And I was like, wow. I don't know why I've ever doubted you, God. I don't know why I've ever said you don't talk to us anymore. As cheesy as it sounds, like I said, I've always been a believer, but man, I've totally turned my life around. I don't drink anymore. I've tried to just treat my body better in the way that I, the food I consume, the way I work out. At one point I, got up to 225 pounds, and I was, wow, jacked and just, but it wasn't good for my body, for my size. And, just in every aspect of my life changed after that. And so that was a huge thing. The second one is this hunting in Utah. We shot that deer, right? Hit him back, pissed off. I was like, dude, I'm not sleeping in a tent tonight. Let's go to the hotel. So we go down there, and we're like, well, since we're here, let's do laundry. We go to the laundromat, and this Native American kid was talking to me, actually talking to Caleb. I was on the phone outside. Come back in, kid starts talking to me. Caleb's a huge fisherman. He lives in Galveston, so they're talking about fishing. And then he was like, "Hey man, I'm blah blah blah. I won't say his name." And I was like, "Oh, I'm Jake, man. Nice to meet you." And dude just gave me his entire life story right there. Told me about some struggles he was having within himself. Told me about like taking stuff out on his mom, which I didn't ask the extent of what that meant because I didn't want to know. just everything, man. And God talked through me. I asked if he was a believer. He said, "That's funny you asked me that. I was talking to this guy named Steve. He told me he was going to pray for me. We prayed over him right there, dude. We talked for, 30, 45 minutes about God, about, and it's crazy, kind of like what I went through last year when I was like, why me, God? Like, why this? He wasn't a believer, but he was, questioning me. Well, if God's real, then why does my life suck right now? Why do I not have a job? Why am I living out of my car? Why am I camping in, on the side of this mountain, which he's like, is fun for now, but for the last 4 weeks, and I got to share that, and I hope that I made him a believer, in that instance, and was able to save his life. But dude, it was same thing, and that's the crazy thing. I'm out there hunting, dude. That's the only reason I'm in Utah. I'd never go to Utah just to go. I probably would now because I think it's cool, but would have never been there.
Yeah.
And I'm out there hunting, and I meet this guy, and I genuinely hope, he talked about ending his life and doing all this stuff, and was like, basically told me, that he had thought about it while he was out there camping and all this stuff. And I just, dude, I couldn't even tell you what I said. I have no idea, because it was not me talking.
Yeah.
But able to have that conversation and do that, all because I'm out there hunting in Utah.
Yeah.
And so that was probably my coolest experience.
That's awesome. God works in mysterious ways for sure.
It's crazy, man.
Through any and all of us.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. That's certainly one of the most. I've never had an answer like that to the question. No doubt about that.
And well, man, when I shot that 220, no, I mean, and that's a true, and I try. It's not that I don't want people to know I'm a Christian and all that stuff. I just never wanted to be that cheesy guy, because like I said, earlier, like, dude, I bump rap music. I have a terrible mouth on me. I get angry. I mess up, and I'm a sinner. And so it's not that I don't want to talk about God on my platforms or anything like that. I do, but I feel like Christians already get that rap of being so hypocritical that I'm like, if someone asks me, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to put it in my video, and I don't care, but I don't try to like push it down people's throats or anything like that. But that is a genuine answer of being the coolest experiences I've had, and it's not because I killed a 185-inch mule deer a week ago. It's not because I killed a 143-inch whitetail last year. It has nothing to do with, the score of the deer, how the deer looked, what the deer was. It was about my experience of being in the situation because I was hunting.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be that,
Wow. That's awesome, man. Next question I got for you, and I know you're ambitious. I'm sure you got a lot here, but bucket list. What's at the top of the bucket list that you want to do that you haven't gotten to do yet?
Africa's obviously huge. I want to shoot a water buck, but number one has got to be Alaskan caribou. No doubt.
Caribou. Dude, that's my number one.
Huge, man. And I got some buddies that up there right now. He's hunting in Alaska. He left 2 days before I went on this mule deer hunt. And I was like, you lucky bastard. Like, I'm going to hunt velvet mule deer, right? Which is awesome. But then I'm sitting there just drooling over him going to shoot caribou.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a dream for me. That's a once-in-a-lifetime hunt for me in my mind.
When he gets back, he said he's doing a DIY. He says I think he spent like $5 or $6 grand on it. But he said that he has found a way to do it cheaper. Because he said the tag's not that expensive. And getting up there's not expensive. The expensive part is getting like all your gear up there. But he said he thinks he's after doing all this research and paying all this money to do it, he's found a way that he thinks he could actually like do the hunt and have everything he needs in that $2 to $3 grand range.
Really?
He figures that out, I'll give you a call.
Yeah,
we're going next year.
I'm curious, man. I'm down. I'm good for one out-of-state hunt a year.
Yep.
Normally, this year it's Idaho elk. I got an Idaho elk tag this year.
Ooh,
so
heck yeah!
I'm excited about that.
Idaho's awesome. That's
what I've heard.
Sucky country, man. It sucks.
I've heard it's rough. I'm going with a buddy up there that goes every year, and we're doing like the whole pack in on horseback, 10, 15 miles, the whole
heck yeah,
the whole deal. So
archery. You said you're strictly archery, no rifle at all.
I'm a bow only guy, and I told him that. I'm like, hey man, what's the likelihood? Like I already know it's lower, but like, am I not gonna have any chance at all? He's like, oh no, We figure it out. We'll make it happen. He's like, I'll have a rifle just in case you want it. I was like, I don't want it.
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
Yeah, day 10 when that 390's out there at 400, maybe.
He shot a 340 up there last year. That was a very respectable bull. So
Heck yeah.
He goes up there every year. Sometimes multiple times a year. He goes on multiple trips up there. He lives up there. But
Awesome.
I'm excited, man. It'll be a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I'm hoping to do, I haven't done an elk hunt yet. I mean, that's obviously big on the bucket list, but yeah, number one, dude, caribou. And DIY. I don't want to go with a guide or anything like that. I want to get, 7 or 8 guys. All of us have tags, and I want to go, hunt 10 Mile Road and just go out there and, just bust down on them, man. I think it'd be so awesome.
That'd be awesome. Well, last question I got for you, and I think you touched on it briefly earlier, but for anybody that is wanting to do what you're doing in the outdoor space, the content creation world, what's some advice you got for them?
Grind.
Be
resilient. Don't give up. Don't, don't care what anyone says, man. When I tell, I'll send pictures of my deer to my dad, which obviously, right, it's my dad. But, he's excited that, it doesn't matter what I killed, right? He's like, heck yeah, man. Are we cooking backstrap tonight? What are we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I know that's kind of off topic a little bit, but going into that to say that I think now, for instance, with my mule deer, right? Posted it, had guys comment, man, that's an awesome deer. What do you think he scored? And I'm like, oh, I had some guys, friends tell me that they think he's 180, 185. I don't know what he is. No, dude, no, that deer's 150, bro. And don't listen to the bullshit. Who cares what the deer scores? If he makes you, I'm all about shooting old deer and shooting mature deer and all that stuff. But, dude, if he gets your heart racing, dude, kill that thing. Yeah. Put a clean shot on it, do your thing. If you want to do this YouTube stuff, if you want to be an Instagram guy, if you want to do it, and that's what gets you up in the morning and gets you hyped up, if that makes you a better firefighter, if that makes you a better gun builder, if that makes you a better tax advisor, to then be able to do the hunting stuff, then freaking do it, man. Just grind. It doesn't matter what people think, doesn't matter what they say. It's going to be a grind, and it's not just the haters out there. It's just an everyday thing, man, because it's not just people in our industry that hate us, that want to do the talk and all that. Man, no one likes us. No one likes hunting anymore. And so it's hard, man. And platforms want to pitch you down. And like I said, I took a whole year off, and that was my biggest mistake, right? Keep going. Just punch and punch and punch and punch and punch.
Yeah. Man, the haters don't like hunting. The vocal people don't like hunting. There's plenty of people that like hunting, but they don't speak up. And likewise, somebody watches a video on YouTube or whatever, and I've had to learn this. I talked in our 200th podcast with another podcast host, Johnny Mac from Soul Seekers, about it. They, people get on there that don't like what a guest you had on or a topic you talked about, and they'll, get all keyboard warrior on you and have after it. But the people who actually enjoy it, like and move on. There's not a whole lot of other support there, so you feel the negative so much more heavy than you do the positive. I had a guy comment on one of our, I forget which one, but one of our podcast videos the other day on YouTube. He threw a comment up there just because he doesn't like, I don't know, the way I talk or the way I run this show as a show host. He literally wrote this paragraph about how horrible of a job I did and how I should resign and step down. I'm not the freaking president, dude. First off, I'm not the president. This isn't a resign and step down. If you don't like the podcast, if you don't like how I talk or how I run a show, I'm not making you listen.
Oh, 100%.
Move on.
Well, and I was, man, I used to especially when I was younger, dude, it was, who are you? This or that,
Yeah.
Dude, now, I had a guy comment on my YouTube video the other day. He goes, man, awesome video. I really liked it. The rap music that you put over this sucks. And I commented back to him, and I said, man, I like what I like. And it's that simple. And like you just said, if you don't like that I use rap music, if you don't like that I, will let a cuss word slip out here or there, you're totally entitled to your own opinion. Do your thing. But I'm going to continue to do mine. And that goes into my advice is, dude, if you like country music and that's what you think is cool in your video, then cool. If you like freaking Justin Bieber and that's what you think is going to make your video cool, then dude, go do it. It doesn't matter. Just do what you want to, because at the end of the day, there's going to be other people like you that are going to support you, that are going to like your videos. And like you said, the haters just talk louder. The guys that really support me, they're not the ones that are commenting on every single post I make. They're the ones that are liking and watching every single post I make.
Yeah.
They don't feel the need to put there and throw a comment down, because it's, you know.
It's funny though. Yet the haters also find time to watch, you know, and I mean,
publicity is publicity, right?
I know. It's funny how that works, man. As we wrap up the podcast here, tell our viewers, our listeners, where they can find you if they do want to follow along.
I am on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, now Twitter. Everything is Nocked TV, Nocked TV, like knocking an arrow. I think my TikTok, though, someone else had already had like a knock something. So my TikTok is just Jake Newman 15. But I'm on all platforms. If anyone knows of a different platform that I need to be on, I'm always open to starting a new one. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, anything else for the greater good before we wrap it up?
Shoot your bow, practice, buy a BMF Battleworks rifle.
There you go. Go check out that platform as well.
Absolutely.
So got some good stuff going on over there. Man, thank you for joining me for an episode on our show.
Dude, I'm stoked. Hopefully do many more in the future. I'm excited.
Hopefully it's not the first one for sure. Especially like you're not that far away.
Do
this in person thing from time to time.
Maybe they'll get tired of seeing me. They'll be like, "Why is he on here again?"
They can move on if that's
exactly
the case,
right.
So. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We're back again next week for another podcast. I'll catch you